Hello, and welcome to Texans Talk Money. I'm Vivian, your host, a pure financial coach here at Texan Smart. In every episode, my co-host Hunter and I will be joined by another pure financial coach from our office, where we will be navigating all the roads on how to handle your money as a college student. So sit back and get your wallets ready to be Texan Smart.
Welcome back to Texans Talk Money, the podcast where we break down personal finance into simple, practical steps you can actually use. If you're a Tarleton student, good luck on finals week, as that is coming up next week. But today we're going to be breaking down savings accounts. And there's a lot of people don't understand that saving accounts are really important, and there's lots of different kinds. But it's always good to learn more and look into savings accounts and why they do matter. Vivian, do you have a savings account?
I do actually have a savings account, Hunter. And a lot of people don't understand that saving accounts are super important. Yes, they do not have a big return, but it's not about doubling your money overnight. It's about having money in your savings so you don't go into debt. Because in reality, like, having emergency funds, short-term goals, and financial stability, say, like, unfortunately, you have a medical bill that you have to pay, or say you have a flat tire, that's when you start to dip into your savings account and not into like another account that you don't have or put it on your card. That's when you want to dip in your savings account because you don't want to go into debt.
Oh, that's really true. And it's kind of crazy how many unexpected expenses you can have and that you just can't even think about just right off the top of your head, whether that be like a vet bill if you have pets, or you decide you just want to buy something fun. You weren't expecting to pay for that, but you were going to pay for it. But you don't have any backing to pay for that necessarily. But there is a difference between emergency expenses and just paying for wants. But savings accounts can be really helpful with both, but especially with emergency expenses that you aren't expecting to pay for, but you have to pay for.
No, I completely agree, because I can testify personally. I've had a situation where I had to dip into my savings account because I had a flat tire.
Mm-hmm.
And I was so thankful that my parents helped start a savings account for me back when I was in high school, and like making a savings account and a checkings account, because a lot of people actually don't have a savings account. Like when I first was in high school, or like even my senior year of high school, and I was like telling people, I was like, oh, I only have like this much money in my savings account. A lot of people were like, I don't even have a savings account. And I'm like, and it was just wild to think that people don't have a savings account.
Yeah, and like a great example for college students, and like something I've had to do before, is unexpected books going into the semester. You don't necessarily think one of your classes might require a book, or you're not expecting to have to pay for that book, but you have to pay for it, and you only have, I think, about 2 weeks to get the book typically with classes. So that could be a great reason, emergency reason why you need to dip into a savings account and why you need a savings account.
I mean, a lot of college kids nowadays don't even expect to get a textbook, so to have a savings account is really nice.
Okay, so now let's get into types of savings accounts. This does get a little boring at some points, but it's really important to understand the different kinds of savings accounts and what they do. There's some that are better for just everyday use and not a lot of money, and there's some for trying to make a good return on your money over the years, on a yearly rate and over a good amount of time. The first one is just a traditional savings account. That's something that's offered through like a normal bank. Example would be like Chase, Wells Fargo, Bank of America. They usually offer savings accounts that are linked to your checking account that consist of low interest rates that don't pay off much, but it's just a good short-term place to keep your money. Could be used as like an emergency fund, or just a place to keep a little money stored away for like a fund account, or some people call it like a slush account. But that's like a traditional savings account. Like, for example, like a Chase account, it could have an interest rate of less than 1%, so you get paid very little over the year. So your money's basically just sitting there to sit there, but it's not doing anything for you. Next is a high yield savings account. These are usually offered by online banks or just a variety of banks, or they can be big or they could be small. Like credit unions usually offer a lot of high yield savings. These are where you're going to see a high return on your money in the account. Usually they can be between 3 and 4% over the year, and that's a lot more money compared to the others one. Now, 3 to 4% might not seem like a lot, but when it's sitting there for year after year after year, it adds up, and that extra money is nice to have, especially when it's just sitting there. You're not having to do anything for the money. It's free money that you get just for putting it in that account. Moving on. First off, do you have a high yield savings, or have you ever used a high yield savings, Vivian?
I personally do not have a high yield savings. I just have a standard savings account.
You're just missing out on money.
I am missing out on
Free money. It's just sitting there. You just got to give it to them. Money market accounts, they're a mix. They're kind of like a savings account and a checking account. They usually offer higher rates, but they're not quite as high as high yield savings. They can come with like check writing abilities and debit card access. They're kind of like a good in between like a normal savings account or a checking account and a high yield. They're in the middle usually. The returns around 1 to 3%, somewhere in there. So they're a good option if you are needing to be flexible. Like you might dip into that savings account more often, or it's like a fun account where you keep your slush money in to go pay for things that you might want to go do, or traveling or going out to eat and stuff like that, because you can pay directly out of that account, but it still earns interest on top of that, giving you some extra money, and it's still building up. Lastly, we have some specialty savings accounts, and these are savings accounts that usually do not offer much. They're usually like, think about a children's saving account that you'll hook to your own bank account for those of you that plan to be parents one day or are parents. These don't have much purpose except for the purpose that they're intended for. Like if it's a kid's account, it's great to have your kids using a savings account and teaching them what it's used for and teaching them about savings, but most people aren't going to encounter these kinds of accounts or use them for everyday things. But now, another thing to do, what to look for. Vivian, off the top of your head, could you name 4 things that to look for in a savings account?
To look for in a savings account, my top 4 things would be interest rate, fees, accessibility, and then the minimum balance requirements.
Interest rate, the big one. APY. So higher is better. The bigger APY you have, the higher you're going to get paid. So let's say you have $1,000 in your high yield savings and it's receiving 4% APY. How much are you getting? Do you know? I'm just quizzing you. Sorry about that. $1,000 at 4% a month. Or no, a year. APY.
Ooh, let me think. I don't have my math brain going right now.
$40. It's not a lot. It's very, very minimal. But when you start building that up over time, it can become a lot of money. And especially if you have $10,000, that $400 is a lot nicer than $0 for doing nothing. But interest rates can get a little bit higher than that. But if you have a low interest rate, you're not receiving any money at all. But also, fees can be a part of savings accounts. And accounts with no fees typically can be better. Usually you don't have to worry about paying for the savings account. But typically some savings accounts with fees offer better rewards. So if you have a lot of money to put in a savings account, it might be worth paying the fee to get the higher interest rate.
Now, when talking about fees, do most of these savings accounts also have sign-up fees?
Some of them do, yeah. Usually the ones with higher interest rates, they'll usually have a fee. But if you don't have enough money to outweigh the price of the fee that you're getting off interest, it's not worth it. So you need your the interest that you're earning off the account to be more than the fee that you're paying for the account for it to be worth the money, basically. So usually fees kind of knock out a lot of options for college kids because college kids don't usually typically have $100,000 to throw into a savings account.
Man, I wish I had that much money right now.
Yeah, me too. But most college kids don't have that much money, so there's not really a point in paying for a savings account because there's a lot of great free options out there. Next is accessibility. Really, you want a savings account that's easy to access, but also not. I mean, the easier it is to access and pull money out of, in my opinion, the easier it is to spend it.
No, I agree with you because I'm not going to lie. The amount of times I've accidentally dipped in my savings for like gas money or something along those lines, I'm like, man, I really wish I didn't.
Mm-hmm. And like, let's say you have a savings account tied directly to your checking account. You can just go in most apps and transfer it over within seconds.
Exactly, like a click of a button.
Yeah, so then it's really like it's a savings account, but you can just pull the money out right away.
So honestly, it's almost like another checkings account if you really think about it.
Kinda, yeah. But and most of those are the accounts that don't earn interest to begin with. So usually, like, it's good to have a savings account that is not connected directly to your checking account, because to transfer money, it'll take a day or two. So you can't just be at the store and be like, "Oh, I want to buy this new Xbox. Let me just click a few buttons and transfer it over." No, you actually have to wait a few days, and maybe you think about it some more and you don't actually want to spend the money on that, and you decide it's better just to save that money. So it's important to look at the access to the account, and whether how you are as a spender. If it's easily accessible, if you're just going to pull that money out all the time, then you need to find an account that's not easily accessible. If that's not a problem for you and you don't have to worry about pulling money out all the time because you're not a compulsive shopper, then you can have an account that's hooked up directly to your checking account. It just comes down to personal preference at that point. Last but not least, minimum balance requirements. That's a big one. Most accounts that pay high interest rates will require a high balance or high minimum balance. So you want to make sure that you know the amount of money you're working with and whether or not you can put that and keep that balance, because if you dip below that, you lose the benefits of the savings account and the interest rate typically. And I think some would require you to pay fees if you dip below the balance requirement. So then your money that you were earning off interest is possibly gone. There's also one more aspect that is really important, and it is when it is compounded. It can be compounded daily, monthly, quarterly, or even yearly. This is big because if it's compounded daily or monthly, it compounds more frequently. So that makes it easier to build up money, and the money the interest you get daily is added into the balance that it's then compounding off of. So you'll get more money in the long run if it's a daily compounding or a monthly compounding versus like a quarterly or yearly compounding. Okay, now it's quiz times, Vivian.
Oh, I wasn't ready for this.
I'm going to give you two different savings accounts, and you're going to have to pick which one you think would be the better option.
Okay, let me get my brain working now.
I have the interest rates on them. I have and some other factors, and I'm going to see which you feel is the best for you or just in general. So it depends. These might just be your preference, or it might be what's better overall. So for the first one, we have a savings account with an interest rate or APY of 5%. High interest or high sorry about that. It's daily compounding. It has a $100 sign-up fee. Option 2, 3.65% APY. It's known for consistent solid rates. It's daily compounding, no sign-up fee.
My personal opinion would be option 2, just because I have had experience with a solid rate and a daily compounding and no sign-up fees. So just your typical savings account that you open up with Chase. But if you want to actually be correct, I would go with option 1 because it has a higher APA.
It does have a higher APY, and this one is weird because, like, if you have like a lot of money that you're throwing in there, the $100 sign-up fee might not be a big deal to you, and you can earn enough interest off of it to where it outweighs the sign-up fee. And 5% is that's a big amount. That's higher than almost, I think, any available savings account at the moment. And it's daily compounding, which is also great, but they both are, so that's nothing crazy in this one.
So technically it was more of a trick question.
Yeah, they're both good. It's like I said, it could be personal preference. I think I would go for the 3.65% because I don't want to spend the $100 sign-up fee, and it has a high rate of variable, so it changes. It's a variable rate, so the rate's not always 5%. Next question. They're both 4% APY. They're both strong rates. One is daily compounding and one is quarterly compounding.
I would go with option 1 because it's daily compounding.
Correct. And see,
yes,
that one wasn't
I got it right.
That one wasn't a preference one. That one was there was a right answer.
Right or wrong.
Yes.
Right or wrong.
And that is because the daily, you can make more because it compounds daily. So that money that you're getting daily is added in, and then the next day it's compounded off of including the interest from the day before.
Okay, so the real question is, how much should I be saving? A common rule of thumb is usually you want to save 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses. And I know that sounds kind of overwhelming, but in reality, you just want to start off small. So usually you want to start off with 100, then from 100 to 1,000, and then once a month expenses. You want to put yourself ahead of most of other people. And honestly, it doesn't matter how much money you really put in there. It really matters how consistent you are with it.
Oh, 100%. If you're throwing in little amounts every week, every day, every month, that adds up over time to be bigger amounts. Just trying to put in like 500, 1,000, 1,500, however big the number might be, trying to like save up in your checking account till you reach that amount and then transferring it over. You're just going to spend the money before you save up to that amount you're trying to transfer over.
Exactly. And on top of that, if you can't start off the bat trying to have 3 to 6 months of rent, put $100 from each paycheck. That's just a small, simple way that you can easily start saving up your money.
Even if it's not 100, even if it's 5, 10, 15, I mean, whatever.
Whatever you feel comfortable with doing. But something's better than nothing.
And I would agree that the goal is to be at around 3 to 6 months worth of expenses. So you know if something bad happens and you need to live off of your savings account, whether that be you lose your job or you have to pay for something really expensive, you are able to do that, and you don't have to rely on the job that you're working to pay for that everyday expense.
Or even if, say, you are paying rent and rent is always due first of every month, and your paychecks usually don't come in until every other week, you have that money to pay for your rent, and then once you get your paycheck, you can restore that money that you used.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so now let's get into some common mistakes with savings accounts. I almost said checking accounts. Sometimes I get them mixed up, and I feel like I shouldn't. I forget.
They're two different things.
Two completely different things.
Two different things.
My checking account's like a revolving door.
So a lot of people like to say, if you're struggling to save money, please, for the love of gosh, do automatic transferings. Automatic transfers from your checkings to your savings, or direct deposit splits from your paychecks. Basically what this means is when you fill out your pay form of wherever you're working, you specifically ask them to put a certain percentage or a certain amount from your paycheck straight to your savings account. So when your paycheck hits your checking account, you don't even see that money that you lost. It's already in your savings.
Exactly. And it's also important to budget off of that. Budget off of that already going in there. Don't include that money going into your savings account into your budget, because then you're going to have to go into your savings account.
Exactly.
But yes, automatic transfers are great. Then you don't have to remember to do it. You don't have to worry about it. It just automatically goes in there. But you have to make sure that your budget's set up for that, because the last thing you want to do is have to dip into your savings account, because a savings account should not be gone into except for emergencies or when it was planned to be used.
And even when you're setting this up, you can start off with a smaller amount to see what you're comfortable with, and then later on ask to increase the percentage, or even just go in if you are strong-willed to just go in yourself and do it.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I think it's important to talk about the importance of an emergency fund real quick. It's a little bit different, in my opinion, from a savings account, because an emergency fund, I feel like, should be money that's set away for what it's in the name, but an emergency. And I think it's important for people to realize that they need to have that emergency fund on top of a savings account if they can. That money's there. If they have an emergency, they can pull it out automatically and use it and not fall behind. I think the biggest thing with that is to avoid getting into debt and having to take out loans to pay for things, or putting it on your credit card. That's what an emergency fund is really good at avoiding.
Hunter, do you have an emergency fund?
I do, actually, and I've had to use it multiple times, actually. The cat, not too long ago, got in a fight outside. We had to take her to the emergency vet at 3 a.m, and it came out to about $550.
Ouch.
In the middle of the night. Yeah, no, it wasn't a fun night, but
Dang, that cat messed up your sleep schedule.
it messed up my bank account, sleep schedule, everything. But she's okay. She's okay now. We have to keep her in. She's an inside outside, but we have to keep her inside now. But so she's meowing like crazy. She wants to go back outside, but she has
Well,
to.
I'm glad to hear that your cat's okay.
She has to stay inside for a few more days with a cone on her head.
I wouldn't expect you as a cat person, Hunter.
You know, I have dog and cat. I like both. I'm a big animal person. But sorry, that was a little off track. But no, that emergency funds do get used, and it's important to fill them back up once they are used because you need them. And I mean, emergencies happen, unexpected expenses happen, and it's important to have those emergency funds to be able to cover those expenses and avoid going into debt.
I completely agree with you.
Okay, now let's do some common mistakes. Keeping too much money in a low interest rate account. That is a huge mistake I see so many people do. Like, for example, having a normal bank account, savings account, through a normal bank with a under 1% interest rate. Let's say somebody has $20,000 in there. That's a good amount of money that a lot of people would keep just in a normal savings account, and that money is getting no interest off of it. They're getting nothing when they could just be keeping it in high yield, getting around $800 at 4%.
Honestly, I would even say less than that. Like I would say 10,000 because
yeah.
I mean, when I first started setting up my savings account, I accumulated a lot of money through my first job that I had, and I put a good chunk of it towards my savings. And even while I was there, the bank, what's their name? Teller? The person at the bank basically told me, they're like, I hope you grow your money and you use your savings account, but if it's over a certain amount, take it out, girl, because you're not doing yourself any favor. I was like, okay, yes, sir.
Yeah, it's really important to make sure, even if it's like, I'd say like anything over 1,000, just keep it in something that gives you interest and keeps you getting more money on top of that, because that's how you build up wealth over time. You have to make your money make money for you. That's the biggest thing. Another mistake people cause or do is ignoring inflation. Keeping your money where it doesn't earn money does not keep up with inflation. Each year your dollar's worth less and less. So if you don't earn a few percent in interest each year off that money, you're actually losing money because your dollars are worth less. And I could spend a long time talking about inflation, but I don't think our viewers want to listen to that.
They're already dealing with it enough on a daily, Hunter.
Yeah, this also isn't a macro class, so we'll keep it out of here. But inflation is a real thing. If you don't know too much about it, it's important you look it up, and it's important you protect yourself from inflation. Carrying on, not shopping around for better rates. That's another thing that people do. They get complacent. They go, oh, I get 2%. That's great. But you could get 4%. Doubling your money. It doesn't seem like a lot, but it does add up. And the biggest mistake that people typically do, I do see people do, is treating a savings account like a spending account. Just withdrawing money all the time, pulling it out, going shopping. I see people tap into their phone and go, oh, wait, I'm just transferring money over to my savings account to buy this real quick. And I'm just like, then why have it in your savings account?
What's the point of your savings account then if you're just going to take it right out and spend it?
Exactly. You're not saving money. You're just keeping it somewhere else so you can spend it.
I think one big thing about treating your savings account like you're just treating savings like spending money is people with age start to realize, I actually need to start saving my money and I need to start growing my interest on it because I have a lot of things I need to be paying for. And a lot of people don't realize that until they're later on in life. They're like, man, I really wish I saved my money while I was in college and not going to get fast food or just spending it on like random little things. Like you actually were wishing you did that.
And I see that always happen to somebody right before they graduate. Like, they'll be like in the semester of graduation and be like, I really need to start saving money. And I'm like, well, I mean, you got to start paying your own rent here in a few months. So it's important that they start early on that.
So seniors, if you're listening, don't do that. Do that. Start saving your money before you're a senior.
Yeah, the seniors, you got to go back in time and start saving your money. I think so. Do you think I can call out Meredith? Do you think she's going to listen? Meredith, start saving your money. You need to. That's one of our other certified peer financial coaches who should be on the show here pretty soon or at some point, hopefully. But if you're a freshman in college, even in high school, or just late after out of school, but you don't know where to begin, start saving a little bit at a time and start saving now rather than later. Your future self will thank you for it.
So, savings accounts aren't flashy, they're not exciting, but they're one of the most important tools in our financial lives. They give you a breathing room, they give you options, and most likely they give you peace of mind. So that's it for today and for this episode of Texan Talk Money. If you find this helpful, share it with someone who's trying to get their finances on track. And remember, building wealth doesn't start by big risks. It starts with small, smart decisions. So see you next time. And remember, don't forget, be well, be ready, be Texan smart.
This has been Texans Talk Money. Texans Talk Money is produced by Savian Gutierrez in partnership with Tarleton Radio. To learn more about us, follow us on Facebook or Instagram at TexansSmart. Be sure to subscribe to Texans Talk Money wherever you get your podcast.